Welcome to 360 Coaching with Premier Teaching and Learning. Today I have Mieosha Hobbs. How are you? Oh
Hi, I'm well. I'm excited.
my God, I'm so excited. And she is so amazing, you guys. It's great to be able to reach out to people that are just so down to earth and friendly. Thank you. I'm so happy to have you here.
I'm glad to be here. I really am.
Yay. So to tell you a little bit how great she is, Ms. Hobbs has been an educator, instructional for 11 years. You guys, she knows exactly what she's doing. After receiving her bachelor's degree in elementary education and spending years in the classroom of Florida, you traveled a lot, traveled the world.
Yeah.
She moved to Washington, D.C. in pursuit of her master's degree in Johns Hopkins University while teaching in Southeast and Northeast DC. She has taken on several leadership roles throughout her career, having taught first grade through eighth grade. That is a lot of grades and a lot of content now. So she has a plethora of experience with many age groups. Mieosha is passionate about creating an educational environment where students are just receive equitable, innovative integrations and best practices. So just her background and experience is a lot. And, her knowledge has helped her to build inclusive classrooms, where students are their authentic selves. And that's very difficult to do, but she has a wealth of knowledge. And so she currently is an instructional coach in Baltimore and with urban teachers. And she's in the teacher's preparation program, ushering the next wave of educators into the classroom. So welcome.
Thank you. Oh my, that sounds like so much.
Yeah, because have a lot to offer and just a lot of different lenses because we need more of you in the classroom. So I'm excited to have you here.
I'm excited to be here. I really am. I'm hoping that this is helpful. That's my word always. So today my goal is to be helpful, especially for folks who are going into the classroom and those who have moved into leadership and are trying to figure out how to support teachers. So that's where I'm at.
All right. So tell us what good stuff you want to share with us today.
Yeah, so I want to start by saying that what I'm getting ready to share is on the innovative lens, right? A lot of people have a lot of things to say about astrology in general, but I have used it my entire career, including when I was an undergrad and going through internships, teaching different grade levels. So I feel like I have the research to say it's really beneficial. And so as I'm going through today, I hope that it makes a lot of sense and it's helpful, useful, and something that you can pluck right off and use right away. So that's my goals today. So today we're going to talk about using basic astrology to build inclusive classroom and school culture. So this is the lens for everyone who works within education. I pulled a bit of data for us. So highly effective teachers know that relationships are the keystone to building a classroom where students feel supported enough to thrive. Sparks reviewed 46 research-based studies that all say the same thing. Strong relationships between students and teachers have a positive outcome on everything schools care about. And when you think about everything schools care about, right, it's a very long list. What I'm proposing, though, is that and using astrology, you can build out a classroom that's inclusive, which means that the relationships are really strong between yourself and your students. And then you can also build out relationships between administration and teachers so that everyone feels included in the school culture. So a little bit about me.
I
Stop me whenever you need to.
This is amazing because I agree. It's all about relationships. And, even thinking back, it's hard to learn from somebody you don't like.
Right.
So making those relationships are so important now more than ever. So
yes, there's no way. Every teacher I've ever actually cared about that I learned from, I remember our relationship above everything else. So I, as an educator, as you heard, I've been in the classroom for a really long time. I actually wanted to teach since I was 7. So for me as an educator, I have really built my career around being this person, right? So Freddie D, who I love so much, says it's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. And that's kind of been my motto as I've been in the classroom and now as a coach in the role that I'm in now. So for me, it's really important that we come to children thinking of them in their strengths and not looking at things as like a weakness, but more an opportunity to grow. So keeping that in mind, I also, when I started undergrad, we ended up going to a convention, like a gifted children's convention. And for whatever reason, there was a gentleman there by the name of Rafe Esquith. He's the author of a book called Teach Like Your Hair is on Fire. He was like a, a huge deal at that time. That was a long time ago, telling my age. But I remember he said, you need to bring your passions to education. You need to show up as a person, right? It's not just about test scores. It's not just about what the principal wants you to do. It's like, in order for your kids to get to know you, you have to be who you are with them. And so in doing that, I also brought in who I am as an astrologer. So I've been studying astrology since I was 16, so about 17 years now. And in being a teacher, it really helped me. And so great Nip, rest in peace, is a good idea of who I am as an astrologer. This is a beautiful quote. Well, not, it's, you know, it's his actual language, but the best thing you can do for a person is to inspire them. That's the best currency you can offer, inspiration. So when a person can rely on you for that, that empowers them in every realm of their life, being inspired. It empowers them in their relationships, in their business, in their art, in their creativity. It empowers them because without inspiration, you're dry. So I took both of those and I said, okay, well, I want to empower my kids and I want to inspire them, but also I want them to learn, right? I want them to be prepared for the world and not have to do all the extra background work that a lot of us have had to do to rebuild ourselves.
Okay, so I'm already geeking out. No, because one, I get a different lens. So one, I get to see you use kind of our urban heroes as leaders, and you're quoting them as if, you know, and you're giving us permission to quote them and put them on the wall and say,
yeah, absolutely.
Okay for us to take our, you know, our rappers, our, you know, our leaders in the community and actually display them with their quotes.
Yeah.
Our student, this is where our students are. So how do we take our students where they are and give relevance to their voice? And so I love just the fact that you've had, you know, various quotes from many of our, you know, African-American leaders.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You're saying, so keep going.
I love it. Yes. And I know I present very Hispanic, but I'm not. My father's a Black man, my mother's a white woman, and I identify as a Black woman. So it's really important for me to pay homage to the elders for sure. And although Nip and I are very similar, well, rest in peace, but similar age, wisdom is wisdom. And I'm gonna leave it at that. So the next question, of course, is like, why astrology in education? And so I wanted to put in the lens of, this is just like there are so many ways that we try to connect with each other. There's so many personality tests. There's like those BuzzFeed personality quizzes that are like, which character would you be? Which Hogwarts house would you be in? Which character do you choose when you play Mario Kart, right? Like, we're always trying to put ourselves into a box and figure out who we fit with, who our people are. And so what I thought of when I started teaching was like, I want to just take my astrology lens because that's how I think. And the other thing about astrology is that I can break it down so that you only have 3 groups. Everything else is just like a really long list. Like Myers-Briggs is 16 choices. When you think about like Enneagram, you could be any combination of these things. It ends up just becoming too much, I feel. And the other thing is that with astrology, you usually get a birth date before you even meet the person. And so I also think about, you know, back in the day, Harry Wong used to tell us you need 6 weeks to get to know your kids. What I'm saying is you can have a kid walk in, all you know is their name and their birth date, and you already have a lot of information about who they are in terms of strengths and their opportunities for growth. I don't say weaknesses, I say opportunities for growth.
The interesting concept is taking that information and being able to meet the needs of the students before you get to know them.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Because I don't want to waste time. I'm all about carrying them forward from the moment they come through the door. So I wanted to give a little background about how it's helped me. So these pictures all represent like different ways that it's helped me. I've had girls groups in the past where, you know, they were with teachers who just really didn't understand them, but we were able to work with them through the astrology lens and help them not only just like supporting them, but also help them get to know themselves. I'm all about being unique because that's who we are, right? There's like 7 billion people walking the planet and none of us are the same. So embrace that. I really believe in self-love and self-care, and I try to help my children see that in my career and also the teachers that I coach. I'm all about like embracing who you are. So when I think about left brain, right brain, we're not all supposed to be artists. We're not all supposed to be leaders, right? We're all supposed to be who we are. And so at the end of that, I'm just trying to help you blossom. Like that's my thing, right? And I love sunflowers, so that was like the perfect way to depict that.
You got me thinking of, these are great icebreaker activities, especially as an instructional coach, to, you know, get to know your teachers.
Yeah.
Say draw 5 things that represent who you are so we can get to know each other. So I am, like I said, I get to geek out with all these creative things that you get to share. So you're making me excited.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. So astrology, right? And this is the basic. If anybody's into astrology, I want to apologize from my heart because I know you're like, there's so much more. I know. However, this is for everybody, right? Anybody can pick this up and take it forward. And so that's why this is it should say like the bare minimum, but the basics. So everybody knows the signs, right? You'll meet somebody and you're like, what's your sign? What's your sign? There are 12 signs, okay? Each one of them falls within a certain date range. And so what I have here is the 12 signs listed out from Capricorn all the way to Sagittarius. Capricorn is actually towards the end of December and goes into January. And then Sagittarius is towards the end of December. So these are the 12 across the year. If you want to know where I got that image from, just click at the bottom. I don't steal anybody's work. Now this chart I made myself. So each of those signs fits into what's called a mode, okay? And those modes attach to a certain quality. So what I'm saying is that in these 3 columns, this is it, just 3. These are the qualities that your students are coming to you with. These are the qualities that your teachers are coming to you with. These are the qualities that your administration are coming to you with. So starters are your leaders, right? Those are the people who are going to like get the ball rolling. They usually have a lot of energy. They're really enthusiastic. They are self-motivators. They're the initiators, and they like direct communication, right? So you can figure out where someone falls based on their birth date. And if they fall in Aries, Capricorn, Libra, Cancer, this is their pros, okay? Now, on the other side of that, they can be domineering and they're not always accommodating, right? For example, I had a Capricorn principal, and she was very direct in communication and very much like an initiator. She had a lot of really great ideas. She was not always accommodating when we said, can we try it this way maybe, right? And that's why she is in the starters column. The maintainers in the middle column here are the Leos, the Taurus, the Aquarians, and the Scorpios. And so they are normally focused, determined, methodical, and stable. They maintain. Usually a starter comes up with something and the maintainer keeps it going. And they'll go for years and years and years. They are that focused, okay? Yes. Now, there are opportunities for growth. Sometimes they have trouble with change. Sometimes they can be really stubborn. And that's not always a bad thing, because sometimes their stubbornness is coming from, but I know this is right, like I can feel it, you know? And so that's why I say it's not a weakness, it's an opportunity for growth. It's something for you to work with the student, okay?
God, Mieosha, you know me already. I haven't already. This is so me. I'm like, sustainability, I know this works, don't tell, you know, and now I'm like, oh my God, I got areas of growth. But it also helps me like figure out how I can support other people, like support my leaders, support, in ways I can.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I'm right on board.
Yes, I'm so glad. Okay, so changers, and this is where I fall. So Sagittarians, Virgos, Geminis, and Pisces. So very resourceful, adaptive, strong communicators, and very sympathetic. So these are the people who are going to come in and be like, oh, you're sad? Why are you sad? Oh, well, we should invite everyone to come play with us, right? Like these are the kinds of kids that you're going to see. And in terms of your teachers and admin in the building, you're going to find that they're the people who are like the listening ear. They're like, oh, I'll go pick it up for you. No problem. I got you. They're the changers. And so unfortunately, what that sometimes means is they can be unreliable and they can be inconsistent. Now, what I will say is that this is for anybody who's into astrology. These do not all apply all the time. Like sometimes people have done the work to not have these opportunities for growth hold them back, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't come up. So for me, the way it helped me was if something came up as an opportunity for growth, I could easily say, that's part of who they are. I don't take it personal. How can I talk to them to help them see how their choice is impacting other people? Okay. And that's, again, why I call it an opportunity for growth. So you're probably wondering, how does this info help me if I'm a teacher, if I'm an admin? Okay. Gift life. So if you're a teacher, here are different ways that it can help you. So if you're setting up group work, assignments, seating charts, like if I have a group of students, I'm not going to put all my starters at one table. I'm asking for confrontation. They're the starters. You only want to have one at a table. If you put two there, you're going to have arguments. Okay. I also wouldn't put all my changers at the same table because nothing's going to get done ever. So you can also apply this to classroom jobs. If you need to have a conversation with someone about choices, it helps you to take it off of it being personal and putting it back on, this is who this child is. This is who this adult is. This is who this person is, okay? When you're encouraging students and coworkers to embrace themselves versus comparison. So instead of it being, but I can't draw like them, that's not your strength. Your strength is blank. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Tone or choice of words when you're redirecting. You're not going to want to yell at a changer. Your strictness is you're going to want to be careful with it sometimes too, because they're more sensitive, right? Whereas with a starter, you want to be really direct, use less words, and they're going to be like, okay, I got it, move on. But if I'm like, and when we make that choice, they're going to look at you and be like, I really don't have respect for you right now because you're not being direct with me. And then the last piece, and this is just some ideas, but when you're creating lesson plans with multiple assessment options or differentiating, using this chart and just being able to think about your students in that way will help. So for example, if I'm creating a group project, I'm going to think about who goes in the group. If I'm creating an individual project, I'm going to be mindful of the fact that my changers might come up with those super creative pieces, whereas my starters are probably going to do the bare minimum based on my rubric, right? Whereas my maintainers, they might be likely to say, okay, this is how I'm going to get an A. I'm going to do that. And that's what I'm going to do. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with this, okay? So I'm going to give you a tale. This is a student that I had, David. He was in the first grade and born June 30th, so he was a Cancer. I still talk to him now. I love him dearly. He also was an autistic student that I had because I was a special education teacher at the time. And as you can see, he's a starter. So definitely very enthusiastic, self-motivated, like direct instruction, definitely initiator. He was the one who would get everybody off task very, very quickly. He was not accommodating in any way. It was very difficult for us to get to that place where he understood I still have to be the teacher and he still has to be the student. My job is to keep him safe, right? So I might give him a redirection to keep him safe, but he didn't like that. He didn't want to accommodate me trying to keep him safe because in his mind, he's doing what he's supposed to do because to him, what he says goes, right? Mm-hmm. Perfect idea of a starter, okay? Again, super enthusiastic. I loved having his energy in class, and those opportunities for growth gave us a chance to help him grow. And I've since heard great things about how he has used that moving on past being in my classroom. Beautiful.
So I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So David, what roles would you give to him to support that? Do you give him the class line leader or starting the lesson? And then, I don't know. I'm just thinking.
It's a great question. So he actually had a lot of jobs because he could handle it. So once we got to a place where he understood that we could work together instead of it being he needed to be in charge or I needed to be in charge, what ended up happening was I could give him those jobs where he was in charge of other students. So instead of him trying to be in charge of me, he was in charge of others. So for example, he was in small group with me. So I might give him the job of passing things out or checking that everybody's ready to go. I might send him on an errand and say to him, I can trust you to do this, right? Like, I know you're gonna do this the right way. I don't know if you're familiar with Foundations. It's kind of a phonics program. So in Foundations, for anyone who's not aware, so there's a lot of places for students to lead kids in saying like sounds and spelling words. I would often let him pick who was gonna come up. I would let him make the words on the board while someone was spelling them out loud. Lots of different ways for him to be himself and still learn how to accommodate. Yeah, I hope that answers.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So also, if you're a coach or part of admin, right, you want to know how to use this. And so some of it is the same, but there are other things, right? So for example, when we do PDs and discussions, I remember being one of those teachers who was like, this is my core group of people. I'm going to sit with these people all the time. But you often want to mix it up, and they would try different ways to do it, but it wasn't always the best, right? Because they do it by grade level, or they might do it by your Harry Potter house, right? And so if you do it this way, you're really setting up for it to be a beneficial PD or discussion, right? Because you've got all the players, okay? If you're delegating, so if I'm, for example, when I was teaching years ago, I was also like the social studies head department for the school, and we put on 6 to 7 like school-wide events every year. So while I'm a changer, and so I'm leading this team, but I'm like, my maintainers, I need you all to make sure you handle the schedule and make sure that it's super tight, okay? My starters, what ideas do you have for this event? Okay, great, that's a great event, let's flesh it out. And as the changer now, I can say, okay, this is great, let's change this. Okay, this is great, let's change this. And at the end of it, because I'm delegating, we had these lovely events that are still going on at that school years after I've left, because It was already taken care of by the people who were best fit for each portion.
Wow.
Yes, it really is. And it's like, just three, that's it, just 3. So it's also just when you're thinking about encouraging your students and your staff, right? So if I'm an admin and we have those students who have to go talk to admin a lot, right? It's how do I want to talk to them? It's not about power, it's about helping them see who they are, okay? That inspiration. And that's also in knowing what tone and choice of words. If I ever had to have a conversation with admin, they needed to be real sweet with me, talk nice to me, or I'm not really going to hear you. I'm just not, because I want to be resourceful. I'm really trying to help. And if you're kind of accusing me, I'm going to have a hard time, right? Whereas if I'm a start, I'm going to be like, yeah, I messed up. So I'll do it this way next time, right?
Got it.
It's different. It's just different.
Yeah.
When you're thinking about creating icebreakers, changers don't want to be competitive. They just want to have fun, whereas a starter wants to win. So break it up. Don't make everything competitive. Think about the people who are working in your building. If you have a ton of starters, go for it. But if you have a ton of changers or maintainers, they're not going to always enjoy that as much, It's just not, it's not going to be the thing. And then also, and this is a big one for me, I wish I could have put 12 stars next to this one because I'm big on retaining. Designing teacher teams that will last. Don't put 4 starters on the same team. It's not going to work. They're going to fight all the time. Because they can be domineering. So if everybody's dominating each other, eventually they're going to be like, I either have to leave the school or go to a different school team. And what we know is that if you are retained and you're happy where you're at, your children benefit. And that's the biggest thing. Okay. So as a coach, I have a tail. Miss Thompson, who is a Scorpio, love her dearly. She is a maintainer, okay? Super focused, super determined, super stable, super methodical. Because she has trouble with change, if there was ever a time where I had to give her like a note that was like, maybe we had gone through some goals and now it's time to like take it up a notch, but I'm doing really well here. Why do I have to go up again, right? Yes, you are doing really well here, but now it's time to go up. Like you've met the goal, you're doing great. Let's go another step, right? And so for her, that was a big thing. And so I spent a lot of my energy making sure she understood, no, I think you're doing great, but I also know that I want to help you be your best self. And that was the kind of language I would use with her to help her grow. And now she's doing phenomenal. She really is. She's going to be teaching 4th grade, and she feels really confident, and she pushes herself differently than I did, because now she knows like it's okay to change sometimes for the better, right? So I wanted to make sure I explain this because I need people to understand that this is not just for students, this is for adults as well. And then honestly, you can use this in anything, but for education specifically, because that's where my first love lies. You know?
Yes. And I liked how you gave examples of each teacher. So I would know kind of what strategies, because I'm even thinking of how I can introduce new concepts, and maybe I can diversify that based on teacher trends. So yeah, I'm learning. So yeah.
I'm so glad. That's all that matters. Because I mean, honestly, when I think about, I normally coach anywhere from 15 to 20 people at a time. And in those moments, I might be talking about the same thing, but the way I'm saying it or the way I present it is going to be different based on who I'm talking to.
Wow. Yeah.
So putting it all together. So I'm a big fan of music, and you know, James Brown, gotta love him. He tells us to get on the good foot. Okay. And so for me, when I say putting it all together, I say it's really important to start off on the right foot. We always tell teachers and admin, you only get one shot at that first impression. And so for me, what I'm saying is use this information to your advantage, okay? And put it in a way that you can start off on the good foot. So cute. I love them. Okay, so it's really important for me to enjoy that. So the elders would tell us to get on the good foot, okay? So I'm just saying, get on the good foot, okay? Yep. Now, if you're interested in receiving anything printable or soft copy, so for example, that chart, if you'd like to collaborate in some way, or if you have questions or need further clarification, you can email me. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on LinkedIn, where we all are. And thank you so much.
Oh my. No, I really think I need to really dig more into this. And, you know, now, I mean, we do get the kids' date, birthday, and name. So that's one thing I can definitely do is make groups, create a season chart, all with this in mind. So you've given me so much to think about, especially in the beginning, starting the new year.
Yeah, and I also think about, you know, a lot of places are moving to virtual learning right now, which in Baltimore we are. And I've been thinking a lot about how it applies. And honestly, a lot of it has to do with like, if my student is a maintainer, they're probably having the most struggle with this moving to online platform, right? And it tells me I need to be mindful of how they're feeling. I need to check in with them more. Whereas my starters are probably like, well, let's try this or let's try this. And with my changers, they're just like, what are we doing today? Okay. Right? But just using that information in such a small way, it makes a big impact. So it's definitely doable, usable. And I'm happy to talk through other ideas that people have around how to use it virtually or if they have questions. So I'm here.
Well, definitely, guys, thanks. And remember, you could reach out to Mieosha. She does professional development, supports teachers, supports educational leaders. So she is and a bag of chips. So
Right. Thank you.
talk to you later.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.